It looked like somebody was bent over and had their head in the window of the deer blind. It either heard me or smelt me, and he pulled his head out of the tent and stood straight up, and that shocked me. They don't make people that big.
The way it moved, almost as if it was gliding across the beach. I've never seen anything move like that in my life. They were screaming at each other in gibberish. It sounded like a language, and they were chuntering away back and forwards, back and forwards, back and forwards. I know what a bear looks like, and there is no way on this planet that what I saw were bears.
911, what are you reporting?
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sir?
Gia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh.
Hi, this is Carol King from Music City, and you're listening to Sasquatch Chronicles.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a great show planned for you tonight. We're going to be chatting with Tyson, who comes to us from Idaho. And a couple years back, Tyson actually had two separate encounters he'll be sharing with us tonight. We're also going to be chatting with Gail. And Gail comes to us from West Virginia. And Gail had a very fascinating roadside crossing. And Gail and another driver actually stopped, and they both looked at this creature for quite a period of time. And Gail will be going over the details tonight. If you've had an encounter and you'd like to be on the show, shoot me an email. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. Let's jump into it tonight. I want to welcome Tyson to the show. Tyson, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, Wes.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. And I know you had two encounters in 2016 in Idaho.
Yeah.
If you would you just kind of start from the very beginning? Kind of tell us about the first one. What were you doing? And walk us into what happened.
Yeah, so, like I said, back in 2016, I was working for a company back in probably Southern Cascade Mountains area. I was by myself putting out some wing barrels for some hunters. You know, they usually clip the wings so you can count the upland game birds and stuff like that. And I was just cruising through the mountains, just doing my thing. And I came on this corner, kind of on a small, narrow road, dirt road. We were going down the road, and I came around the corner, and this guy was coming around the corner. So I kind of veered off real quick and kind of got stuck and then knocked my tailgate off because I came in like little ruts. So I kind of so I park it and get out. And the guy kind of stops, and I look at the guy, and I look back on it now, and I look at him. He was very just skittish. Like he was just kind of wanted to get out of there. So I'm like, all right. I didn't notice at the time, but we were going off. He asked me, "Hey, you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, man. Have a good day." He's like, "Yeah, you too." And just took off really fast. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but all right. So I get out, and I'm trying to fix this tailgate, and we have this brush back home. I don't know who else has this, called buck brush. Well, that's at least we call it. And it's just really thick brush that you cannot trudge through. You have to climb on top of it, get up. And I get out, and this thing all this buck brush is just moving. It's just rocking back and forth, and I don't know what to do. So I was like, all right, maybe it's like a bear or something. So I'm kind of nervously getting in there, putting the tailgate back in, and I look over, and this thing also out of nowhere just stops and just takes off up the hill, and it's moving buck brush. It's just moving. So I'm like, that's really weird. Well, at the time I was 17, so I was like, being a dumb 17-year-old, I was like, well, let's go after it. See, I want to see this bear, cool. And now that I think about it too, like all I had was like a little Bowie knife with me. So I'm like, oh, great defense weapon there. So I go off up this hill after. I'm just kind of like walking, trudging up this thing, and I finally get to the top of this hill. And this hill's not very like gradual. It's steep. It's a steep hill. So I finally make it up to the top. I'm breathing, sweating, can't breathe. I get up top and I'm looking around, and I notice this thing is standing behind a tree. Like there's like this black figure. I was like, well, maybe that's just like a bear rubbing its back. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, then it peeks out from around the tree, and I just froze. I don't know what to do. I don't know what it is at this point. I'm just paranoid. And this thing is staring at me. And I couldn't move. So I just kind of like kept staring, and it's kind of like these yellow eyes just penetrating me, just staring at me. And we probably locked eyes for a good 30 seconds. And I'm looking at this thing. It's looking at me. I don't know what to do. I'm a little 17-year-old all by myself in the mountains of Cascade. So I'm like, I'm going to die. Like this is where I end. And this thing, I don't even know how to describe it, Wes. This thing was huge. Like it was hiding behind a tree that was probably 20 to 30 feet tall. It was a big tree and probably 3 to 4 feet like radius. Like it was a thick tree. And this thing is sticking out, and I don't know what to do. We lock eyes, like I said, for about 30 seconds. Big, black, mossy, just staring at me. And after a while, like I kind of like move my hand to my knife because like I don't know if it's what it's gonna do. So I move my hand to I get my knife. At this point, I just look up again, and this thing is just barreling down the hill. Like I see everything. This thing is like struts, and so I'm guessing it had to be probably, I don't even know, probably 8 feet tall, just big. Like it literally looked like a monkey, like a gorilla, just trudging through the forest. Just glides right back downhill. Never saw it again. I don't even know how I got back to my truck. I just remember when it finally left, I was in my truck again. I don't know what it was. It scared the living crap out of me.
Yeah, that would definitely scare me, especially being, 17 and not real. I wouldn't go chasing bears, by the way, but you get a hold of one, they might throw you a beating like you've never had.
Yeah.
Even a little black bear, man. So you see this thing and its eyes, you said the eye, were you able to see more than the eyes? I mean, I know you got a whole look at the thing, but when it was looking at you through the brush, was it mainly just the eyes sticking out?
When it was the brush, yeah, it was just the eyes. I could just see just yellow, like dark yellow eyes just glaring at me.
Now, the guy you ran into, the actual human you ran into, you said he was acting skittish and he kind of took off. Would you kind of describe for the audience kind of what you saw? I mean, take Sasquatch out of your vocabulary and just kind of describe what you saw.
Ooh. I would probably describe it as just, I don't even know how to describe it. Probably very, very muscular, very toned. It was hairy. It had hair all over it. It had kind of like a monkey's face, like a gorilla's face, but more human features. Like its nose wasn't as short. Like it had almost a human nose. Just black fur, hair or whatever. I don't even know what it would be, but it was just jet black. I could see like the moss from trees just like hanging on, like it was like rubbing itself on trees. It had like moss everywhere on it. Muscles were very, very, what's it called? Toned. You could see every muscle. Hands were huge. I remember seeing its hands when I was running, and they were bigger than anything I've ever seen. They were ginormous. Its arms were long, just swinging by its side. It was a sight to see. Yeah,
they definitely are. I mean, it'll throw you off when you see one, especially when you throw in some of the human features. When you can kind of look at it and go, "Wow, that's probably a gorilla that escaped from the zoo," which in Idaho makes no sense. But I could see why someone might say that. But then when you start kind of looking at their features, the human nose, and just kind of the way they, even when they're upright on two legs. Gorillas on two legs are very different from these things. These things are more like us, I would say, when they're on two legs running. At the time, what did you think you ran into?
Like I said, I thought it was like maybe like a black bear, because we have a lot of black bear up in northern Idaho. So I was like, oh, it's just a little black bear. But after coming home a couple weeks later, just keep thinking about it. It couldn't be, because there's no way. Like bears cannot